Welcome to my little game. So this game was built to test the movement mechanic that I've been working on. Simply put, the movement is determined by your head movement. At the moment, this is my stationary position. I started the game and it just detects where my head is and it uses that as a base for all the movement that's going to come. So if you can imagine, this is my head position, and if I move it around, then whichever direction I move it in, that will be transferred to my character. It's like basically an analog stick on a thumbstick on a controller. So let's give this a shot. If I move forward, my character starts to move forward. If I move back, my character moves back. Same with the sides and all around in 360 degrees. That works really nicely. Now, I originally thought that I would play standing up, and if I wanted to turn around and look behind me, then I would just turn around. But I found myself testing a lot in sitting down mode, and it turned out I couldn't turn around because I lacked any thumbstick or anything to control that. So I had to come up with a solution for that too. Now, the solution I came up with was to turn my head basically. If I looked over my shoulder, then my character would turn around. If I turned a certain amount, it would start going slowly. And then if I looked around my shoulder more, it would go faster. It works in the other direction as well. Now, it was a very fine balance between how much I wanted to look around before I started turning so that I didn't accidentally start turning before I intended it. So that took a lot of time and balance to tune. But I added a bunch of settings so that you can manually adjust it to however you like. So some people may want to turn sooner than others. Others may want to have to do extreme head movements to move, to turn, and that's fine. So you can set that up however you like. So that's all well and good. And you can combine the turning and the movement together. So you can just run around and you can turn. It works nicely. It seems to be very natural once you get used to it. It takes a little while for you to start thinking about it, but once you do, it works beautifully. Now, the next thing I thought was important for a game that has smooth movement is a lot of games have jumping or dodging. So I wanted to try and tackle this in the same manner that I took the movement. So the ultimate solution I came up with was to measure sudden velocity changes. So what that means is my head is still, and if I suddenly jerk it forward at a certain speed, then I dash. I dash in the direction that my head was moving. So the thought process was this. So I imagined like a bullet coming towards my face, and then you instinctively try to avoid it. You dodge. And I thought, let the system recognize that and implement that in the game and register that. So now, even if you don't think about it, something's coming at your face and then you suddenly want to get away, you dodge. So that works nicely. Now, I thought this could be used as some kind of jumping mechanic, jump over small gaps, or maybe instead of the horizontal movement I have, add some verticality to it so you do a jump. But the thing I found with that, when I asked testers to try it out, some of them were not comfortable jerking their head when they couldn't see their surroundings. They were worried they would bash their head into things, which is perfectly understandable. It still works as a nice reflex movement when you think you're going to get hit and you dodge. That's fine. But for something a bit more safe and controlled, I wanted a jump that didn't involve you jerking your head suddenly. So I came up with this. It's basically a little nod. See? It registers the speed at which I'm looking down, and then if I go up again past that certain speed threshold in one smooth movement, it will detect it as a nod and it will jump. So I can go like this, do a little hop. It takes my movement speed into account and it uses that as the jump velocity. I just add verticality with the nod. So yeah. I did make it so that when you do a jump, you can't change your movement direction in the air because that's more realistic. But yeah, anyway, that's configurable. I can turn that off or on. That's fine. Now, the thing with jumping in games is that the player needs to be in control. Sometimes they want to do a little hop, sometimes they want to do a big jump. So to add variable jump height, I basically took the total angle of the downward movement that you make for the nod, and I measure it, and I basically do a different jump height based on how much you nodded. So a little nod does a little hop. But then if I do a more deliberate big nod, I jump a lot higher. So I can walk around, run around, I can do a little hop, or I can run around, I can do a big jump. I can turn around while I'm in the air. I just can't change my velocity direction, so that's fine. Now everything combined, it makes for a very fluid and natural movement system. And you don't need your hands or your controls or anything like that. You can just use little head movements, and it feels really nice. And it works quite well. Once you get used to it, it starts to feel very dynamic and fluid and very natural. Now this is a movement mechanic that you can't really see in flat screen games because it really takes advantage of what VR is, and it's kind of built from the ground up to be a natural fit for VR. So that's why I designed it. But the other reason I designed it is I wanted to make hand track games, and hand tracking doesn't have analog sticks or buttons or anything. So now with this system, I can move around, I can jump, I can dodge, I can do everything just with small little leanings, which I've used for several hours at a time, and it feels completely comfortable. I don't get tired of it. Your mileage may vary, of course, but the benefit of this system is that my hands are completely unused, they're completely free, so that I can interact with objects. I can just grab stuff, move around, do what I need to do. No. Apparently I've got bad hand-eye coordination, but that's okay. So I can just pick things up, I can drop things around, I can manipulate things, throw things. So yeah, it starts to feel really nice. And it opens up a lot of possibilities for gameplay, I think. So yeah, that's my movement system. If you have any thoughts, let me know in the comments. I'm curious to see what people think.